If you aren't using these two communication frameworks in your business presentation, you're probably losing your audience. In our jobs, we often spend weeks or months performing the work, doing the research, building the model, then we have to report our progress, findings, and recommendations. If we don't spend time thinking about the way we structure and communicate our work to others, if our audience doesn't understand what we are presenting, it makes all that work a waste. I'll go as far as to say, if your audience doesn't understand the work, did you do the work at all? This is where storylining comes in. Storylining is the process of crafting a written or spoken message that an audience will be able to understand and absorb quickly and easily. Management consultants rely heavily on the skill, but it's worth investing in and mastering whether you are a consultant or not. In this video, I'm going to introduce two storylining frameworks I relied on most heavily during my time as a management consultant at McKinsey. And I have used these frameworks pretty much every day since. These are the SCR framework and the famous pyramid principle. Stay tuned to the end where I'll show you both frameworks at work on a single slide presentation. You can use these for verbal communication or slide making. The first is the SCR framework, or Situation Complication Resolution framework. In this framework, you state the context or facts that your audience needs to know to bring them up to a baseline level of understanding. Then with complication, you state the opportunity, risk, or problem that arises from the situation as it stands. Then you propose the recommendations or solutions. This framework is really helpful because it gets the audience up to speed on what they need to know to engage. It gets them primed to agree with what's coming because the situation is a non-biased statement of fact. Next, it helps them understand the gap or why things need to change. Then they are primed to hear the recommendations. I use the SCR framework most often to craft my executive summaries. Here is an executive summary example from BCG about how to improve the connection between Swedish startups and corporations. In this two-page executive summary, you will see that the first point is the situation. It states that Sweden has consistently been ranked a top 3 innovative country in the world since 2012. The next point is where the complication starts, as signaled by the word however, stating that there's a challenge growing startups into larger enterprises. The next 3 points present opportunities that can be leveraged to address the challenge. And the last point is the resolution or proposed solutions to increase the number of startups and grow them successfully. The executive summary easily dictates the flow and storyline of the rest of the deck. Each point on the executive summary can become the titles of the slides of the presentation. Then the rest of the presentation will be the evidence or deep dives of everything that we see here in the executive summary. You can see that the numbers here on the executive summary are the trackers for the respective deep dive pages in the rest of the presentation. Now we will jump into the second framework. But before we do that, if you are finding this video helpful so far, please like and subscribe. I'm Ramona Moodley, a former McKinsey consultant and learning designer, and I share tips and tricks for early career success. Also, check out the helpful slide making and communication resources that I have in the video description. The next framework is the pyramid principle. The pyramid principle is the language of consultants. It is what is referred to as top-down communication, which is starting with the recommendation or answer to the question first, then providing the supporting arguments for why you say that, then providing the supporting data or fact base to back up each supporting argument. Let me bring this framework to life with an example. Imagine your family is going on holiday and each person has to pitch where the family should go. So you do a lot of research, you consider what people like and dislike, and you end up choosing Japan. Then if you choose to use the pyramid principle, your response would be something like, I think we should go to Japan for 3 reasons. 1, it's in budget. 2, none of us have been there. And 3, it's only 1 flight away. Diving into budget, it will cost us $2,000 a person for flights, food, and accommodation, which is half of what we spent on our vacation last year. Next, I will deep dive into the supporting data for the other points if I need to. The pyramid principle is amazing because it's time efficient. In our Japan example, we led with a recommendation, which is we should go to Japan. If everyone agreed right then, you don't need to go any further down the pyramid, and you saved everyone a lot of time. In the business world, it gives the audience a choice of where to engage and where to spend their time. Executives don't want to spend more time on anything than they need to. If your document is structured in a top-down way, they can read your recommendation, and if they agree, they'll stop there and save themselves a bunch of time. If they aren't convinced yet, they will read your supporting arguments, and if then convinced, they'll stop. If they aren't convinced by one argument, they will take time to understand your analysis and supporting data for that argument alone. In another video, I will talk about the different ways to structure your deck according to the pyramid principle and the most common slide formats used. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to hear more about that. Okay, so now let's bring it all together in this example where we will look at the SCR and pyramid principle working together in a single presentation. This is a McKinsey document about how to address the affordable housing challenge. First, the SCR framework sets the stage, then the pyramid principle takes over. The situation is that there is a very large affordable housing gap globally. The complication is that the gap is growing. The resolution are these 4 levers. The pyramid principle comes in to explain or deep dive into each lever. With the deck structured in this way, each lever becomes a chapter, and after reading the overall recommendation slide, I can choose which chapter I want to deep dive into next. I'm not forced to read the document in a sequential way that the writer chose to structure it in. Alright, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you found this useful, and see you in the next video.